Hey, welcome back to Taylor's Trick Taking Table. I'm Taylor, just normal old Taylor. Thank you so much for making it through April, which is always so much fun on the channel. For me specifically, I think people like it, but it is wild, so I'm sorry to anyone new who either thought that was what the channel was, and now you're getting a splash of cold water of this mean mug. But also sorry to the people who might have joined for just learning about trick-taking games and they got what was wildly insane. So I am sorry. Thank you so much. And welcome back to our normal scheduled programming. It's just me and Chris.
Okay. Good.
And Mike.
No.
That's right. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my. Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you watch it yet? The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower. Not a Dice Tower. The Dice Tower. Did not only a review of what's left in Shortzutsu, but they had an intro.
It's so cool that Taylor Reiner made these games. He knows a lot about trick taking.
I cannot explain to you how wild it was to wake up. That's right, wake up. Because I woke up and I think they posted it middle of the day, but I woke up, I don't know, 11 noon or something. The sleeping habits of a person like me. I woke up and I got someone was like, did you see the video? And someone else was like, oh wow. And someone added me in a Discord. Another person sent it to me and said, you'll not believe this. I just got so many messages and I couldn't believe it. I saw the thumbnail. I thought it was a prank that many people were pulling on me. I clicked the video. I could not believe it. I was absolutely floored. It is one of the most witty, clever, hilarious, funny. I'm noticing I'm kind of going thesaurus brain because it left me speechless. It was so wild to see my insane style where I just use a green screen and I screenshot someone behind me, but used on myself. And also Mike taught games how I teach games. It was so fascinating to watch. Oh, it was just amazing. So thank you so Mike. Thank you so Mike. Thank you so much, Mike and Chris. It was wild. There's been moments before I started making videos, before I started making games and all that I've just been so into the board gaming space. I've watched the Dice Tower for years and years and years and years. I remember, back to when Every Game is Awesome or something with Jason Levine and Tom, or even back to Shut the Door. I've just been watching so many Dice Tower videos, so it was surreal to see not only my games on there, but also the I don't know if it's called homage or just the fact that my style was on there, and also the fact that literally my physical set, this is just my house, but it's just a wall in my house, was on the Dice Tower. Am I rambling too much? Should we be talking about the games we're covering? We should be. But so anyway, it was wild. Please go watch the video. It's absolutely amazing. I was just blown away. It's something else. So thank you so much again. Please watch it. It's absolutely amazing. It's so funny, so clever, so amazing. And watch to the end. The end. They have an end scene. Oh, amazing. Okay. This video is covering New Mill. New Mill has 2 new games. This is quite the intro if you're here for this. Maybe check the timestamps. But New Mill Industries has 2 new games coming out for pre-order. They sent them. They are covering games that came out maybe like a few cycles ago from Tokyo Game Market. Like this one. This was Backhander maybe a few cycles ago. And this one came out a while ago. I want to say 2017 or so, maybe around there, maybe later. So it's a remake of 7 Prophecies by Hinata Origuchi. And also, like I said, This is a remake of Backhander by Hugh Games. And what's great about these two, they are both, it's always fun when there's kind of like a core DNA in like a set. We covered Charms and Inflation by Nemo, and those were previously Zimbabwe Trick and Dois, and those are both Takeshi Shinzawa classics. There was both Takeshi Shinzawa games, and it's great to also have in these, even though different designers, they have a similar thing where they're all about like a lane of cards dictating what's gonna win or what should be led or things like that. So I'll get into the hook, but this is also great. And we're also gonna be covering Spring Cleaning by Jonathan Cox, the amazing Jonathan Cox. And there's some fun stories behind that. And that is technically not New Mill, it's kind of like a imprint by Daniel. It's a side thing. But also pre-orders are gonna be up, I think June 3rd? Check the description, I'll have links in the description. The first one let's talk about is Icarus Club, the Icarus Club. This is, like I said, it was Backhander. The premise of this is you will get dealt a hand of cards, but then one set of cards, so maybe everyone gets 11 cards, usually at the playground, and then there'll be 11 cards cut, but those are going to be flipped face up, and they're going to be kind of a line of cards, right? And they're going to represent the tricks as you go, and the suit is the suit that must be led. So the lead player is going to look at that suit, and they're going to play it. If they have it in their hand, they can play whatever they want. If they don't, the highest of that led suit is going to win the trick. They're going to collect that prize card, and then all but one of the played cards, and they're going to choose one of the played cards, and that's going to overwrite one of the tricks later on. So for example, I could take like the 3 of that suit if I won, and put it later on. Or if someone was off suit, I can put that card, later on. And so you can change what's going to be led and what suit is going to win later tricks. The twist is, in the scoring, is you want to have won the second most number of cards. And why I say number of cards and not tricks is because when you add that card over onto a different trick later, that is adding another prize card that you're going to take if you win that trick. I hope this makes sense, because also you're going to play multiple hands, and the second most scoring overall is going to win the whole game. So Backhander was actually just a one-hand game, but Icarus Club, the Icarus Club, is a multi-hand game and has like a meta scoring, which we'll talk about. Then you have 7 Prophecies. 7 Prophecies, similar thing. You're going to lay out a lane, but the twist, the hook of this one is you are going to try to be bidding on how many times the card you play is going to be first, how many times the card you play is going to be second, and how many times it's going to be third or fourth in a 4-player game. Wild stuff. So you're looking at your old hands and you're like, okay, is this one like a second place card? Is this like a third place card? You're going through, you're going to bid like, maybe I'll take first 3 times. I'll take second twice. That type of stuff. Wild stuff. We will be covering that. And then also, I don't have a copy, but we're going to go to the virtual table, and we are going to cover Spring Cleaning by Jonathan Cox. And the premise of this one is similar to acclimation in games like maybe like Delt or Scout. You can't move your hand. You can only play cards that are adjacent to each other. But the cool thing on this one is when you pass, you take a card out of your hand and you put it on offer to other players. And when other players can play, they can take a card in front of you as part of their meld. So say they have like a 1, 3, 4, and you just put out a 2 and it comes to them, they can go, thank you, and go 1, 2, 3, and you're 2. And then have played a 1 through 4. And it's great because they got cards out of their hand, but they're also helping you get cards out of your hand. Because the round ends when everyone's out of cards in their hand and out of cards in their offer row. Super great stuff. So we're going to go to the virtual table for that. And again, pre-order links in the bottom. Huge grain of salt, I should have said at the start. Jonathan, Daniel, both pals, and I should say that they sent me these games, so take this with a huge grain of salt. I'll say that again for the final thoughts. So let's go to the table, and again, Mike and Chris, just the absolute best. Definitely check out that video too. So, thank you so much for getting through that intro specifically, and getting through April. It was a wild, wild time. I'm super excited for next year, actually. I came up with some wonderful ideas. So see you next year. And at the table right now. Okay, bye. The deck in the Icarus Club is 1 through 11 in 5 suits. At 3 players, you're going to remove 1 of the suits. Here we have a game set up for 3 players. So at 3 and 4 players, you're going to shuffle the deck and deal 11 cards to each player, and then 11 cards up here, making this trick lane of sorts. At 5 players, you're going to shuffle and deal 9 to each player, and then 9 cards up to form the lane. And what this lane does is it represents the tricks of the hand. This will be the first trick, the second trick, all the way to the last trick at the far right of the lane. What does it mean for a card to represent the trick? Well, this will be the suit that must be followed and led into the trick. It's essentially the suit or the lead suit for that trick. Also, the highest of that suit is going to win the trick. So coming to the red chip here, say they were the start player. This is the first trick and they must play a die. So looking at their hand here, they have 2 options, the 8 or the 6, they'll just play the 6. Coming to the twisted die up here, they are going to play this 1 because they had to. Coming to the WSBG, they choose, maybe they want to win this trick, and they'll play the 7. Now the winner of the trick is whoever played the highest in that suit for the trick. They are going to take one of the played cards, and they're going to add it and overwrite one of the later trick. So maybe they want the next one to also be die. They can take one of the cards and cover it. Then they're going to take the card in the lane or any underneath it and all the cards that have been played, and these are going to go into their score pile. Then they're going to lead to the next trick. Again, they have to follow the suit that is for that specific trick. So it was these cherries, but since they covered it, it's now back to being die. So they have to play die again. And again, the players must follow the suit. If you don't have any of the suit, like the twisted die up here, they can play whatever they want. So maybe they play that one. So again, it's the highest of that suit. So this WSBG, they want it, and they can pick any of the played ones to overwrite it. So maybe they're sick of the die being led, and they're going to use this to cover that one up. They're going to, again, take all the cards, any underneath, and the 1 for the lane, and any other play cards that they didn't use into their trick pile. They're going to lead to the next trick, but now they must play that suit. So maybe they play like this. So flow like this is going to continue, where you must follow, and players are, again, trying to win the second most amount of cards. So the red T3C chip here, they are going to win the trick. Maybe they want this second to last one to be blue. So again, they're going to take any play cards they don't use, all the ones that they won, into their trick pile, and then lead. So this is going to go for the rest of the tricks. And again, players are going to jump forward to the end here, and they're going to count up the number of cards they have. So this player has 4 so far, whereas the green WSBG player, they have 7. And at the end of a hand, if you have the most cards, you actually get 0 points, but everyone else will count the number of points that they got. Then you would shuffle and redeal, and you play rounds equal to the number of players. And at the very end, the player who has the second most points out of all of those games, out of all those hands together, is going to win the entire game of the Icarus Club. As a note for ties, if players have tied for the most, they both get 0 for that hand. And if at the very end of the game, if everyone has a tie, everyone loses. And that's how to play. The deck in 7 Prophecies is made up of 4 suits numbered 1 through 11. At a 4-player game. At a 3-player game, you're going to take out the 10 and the 11 of the 4 suits. Here we have the game set up for 3 players, so no matter the player count, every player is going to get 8 cubes in their color. They're going to get shuffled and dealt 10 cards each. At 3 players, there's going to be 6 cards cut. At 4 players, there's going to be 4 cards cut. They're going to go face down off to the side. Next, you're going to take the 12 fate cards, which just have a suit on them. You shuffle them, you deal 10 into the lane at the top there, and the rest are going to be set off to the side. Then you're going to have the score chart up here. Everyone's going to put their cube on the bottom here, And then at 4 players, you're going to have 1 through 4 here, but at 3 players, you're going to have 1, 2, and 3. These are the places. So this is first place, second place, and third place for the cards. And then also, everyone is going to have a bidding card. Next, players are going to take their 7 remaining cubes, and they're going to bid on how many times they think they're going to play first, second, or third, or fourth in a 4-player game into the trick. So first would be the strongest card, second, the second strongest card, third, the third strongest card. And it's going to be simultaneous, so players are going to kind of hide their bids from each other, and then once everyone's done, they're going to reveal. So let's maybe do Moomins, and then the other players can do theirs simultaneously. So looking at Moomins, they have, again, it only goes to 9. So they have some high, oh wow, there's some pretty high greens, but the green is going 3. Maybe they think they're at least going to get first a couple times, and again, they're going to be shielding their hand here. And then they have an okay amount of yellows, but there's only 2 yellows, so maybe they think they're going to get second and first in yellows. And then for blue, they have really low blues, so they think they're actually going to get third with all those blues. So they're going to do that. Now that everyone's bid, we're going to go to the trick play. So starting with the start player, let's say it is Moomin, they are going to lead into the first trick. Again, this lane dictates all of the tricks. So first trick, second trick, third trick, all the way to the last trick over there. And this is also the lead suit. So Moomin will have to play a green. Maybe they want to start off strong, and they play the 9 there. So it comes to the blue dinosaur. They must follow with green. They only have 2 different greens. They're going to play that 4. And then the Team Rocket player is going to play the 2. So again, you're going to rank them. So 9, come up here, 4 and 2. These are all in suits. So you just rank them by the rank. And then players are going to put out the cubes if they got it right. So they said they were going to get first, they got first. They said they were going to get second, they got second. And they said they were going to get third, they got third. The winner of the trick is going to lead to the next trick. And again, it has to be that suit. So maybe Moon plays an 8. Coming to the dinosaur, they had really strong, so maybe they're going to do that. And then finally, so as you can see here, the Team Rocket character doesn't have any of the suit. They can play whatever they want, and maybe they play the 5. So you rank it again, highest of the lead suit. Anything off suit is then weaker, so this is going to go down here. I got those swapped. But so Moomin said they were get second. They got a second. Dinosaur said this. And then this is actually now the last third for Team Rocket here. Jumping ahead to the 4th trick here. As you can see, Moomin played the 8, so they had the strongest. They're going to put out that. But notice how the dinosaur was second, but they don't have any cubes. If you don't have any cubes, you just skip it for now. And in fact, Team Rocket also was lowest and they didn't have any cubes, so they also skipped. This is brutal because how the hand is going to end is one of 2 ways. Either you do this for all 10 tricks, or someone places their 7th cube and it ends early. So these tricks down here, these last 3, are possible. They might not happen. So that trick specifically was really tough for Dinosaur and Rocket because Moomin was the only one who got a cube out. How the scoring works is dependent on how the hand ended. So if it ended early because one of the players got all of their cubes out, then they're going to score points for how quickly they do it. So if the person goes out in the 7th trick, they're going to get 5 points. 8th trick, they get 3 points. The 9th trick, 2. 10th trick, 1. But the player, or players, because ties are allowed, with the fewest remaining cubes on their cards score 1 point. But that's only if it ends early. If it goes all the way to the end in the 10 tricks, that 1 point for cubes on prophecy cards doesn't go out. And I believe ties are friendly, so if multiple players play their last cube on a certain round, then they would both score the points. Also, one little caveat, if players were off suit, so let's say it was this trick, and it was someone playing that 1 of green, and then these players are off suit, and maybe that person plays the 2, and this person plays the 2 of blue, it is tied in matching. How do you rank these? Well, if it's tied, it's the later one is stronger. So 2 blue in this case, because it was played later, would go above this 2. So once you find the scores, you're going to keep track of them up here. So let's say that Moomin over here, they did actually go out on the 5th round. They would get 5 points. So you move them up here. And then maybe the Brontosaurus had the fewest cards or cubes on their card. They're going to get 1 point. Then you're going to shuffle up and re-deal and keep playing rounds. Where the start player is the next player in turn order. You are going to keep playing until someone hits 7 or more points, or unless you play rounds per player, and whoever has the most points at the end wins. And that's how to play 7 Prophecies. Welcome to Spring Cleaning. This is on virtualtabletop.io. John has a wonderful way to play this. There's also playingcards.io, but this one shows off a few wonderful cards. So the deck is 1 through 9, but there are 7 copies each. You are going to shuffle these and deal them 12 cards to each player. Unless you're playing a 5-player game, then it's 11 cards to each player. Let's just reset the round here. If you're playing with 2 players, you're also going to shuffle and deal 2 cards face up on the bottom as kind of like a neutral hand that both players can interact with. After everyone has their cards, they're going to make sure not to sort the cards. Is a really important thing for the game. In front of everyone, they're going to have offered cards, as you can see over here. And so for us, Robot Rick, we're going to be playing up at the top here. And simultaneously at the start of a hand, everyone will pick a card from their hand, and it could be anywhere in their hand, and they're going to put it on offer. We see maybe this 4 is in the way of these 8s, so we're going to take this 4, we're going to put it in our offer row. So everyone's going to do that simultaneously. And then after that, the start player is going to lead. Let's say it's us, it's Robot Rick. And so this is a climbing shitting game. So the goal of the game is to get rid of all the cards in your hand. What's interesting is your hand in total includes your hidden hand, which is on the bottom right here. That's what we have, and no one can see that, just us. But also the offered cards, which are face up in front of you on the table. That's what everyone can see, everyone can interact with. And you have to get rid of both. So this has to be empty and your hand has to be empty to end the round. And the goal is to shut out, so you want that to happen. And since it's a climbing shedding game, you're going to have different melds or combo types that you can play. So what can you play is over here, you have a single, and then you have sets of 2 or higher, so like a pair or 3 of a kind or whatever it may be. Also, you have runs. So like 1, 2, 3, it can go either way though. So like 3, 2, 1, as you can see, ABC or CBA. You do have to play stronger. So that's either exactly 1 more card or the same size and type, higher values. So let's just say when we go to play, we can start off simple here. Maybe we can leave this 7, but also you have to play next to each other, right? Like as you can see, my hand right here, I can't play these 2 9s because they're far apart, but I can play maybe these 3 8s. That'd be a little bit strong. Maybe we don't want to do that yet. So let's just play the 7, and then you can click the end turn in the virtual tabletop, which is great. And so then it would go to the next player, Tyler here. And so now they have to play higher than a 7 because it's a climbing shitting game. Let's just say they play a 9, so we can get back to us. I'm going to here into the incognito just to be able to play. What's cool is you can take cards from other people. So, for example, here, the incognito player has this 2 here, and maybe isn't the best play because they lose this 1, 2, 3. So maybe they actually take the 4. So they're going to play these 2 4s and just going to keep it at that. And so then when it comes to us, we alt tab. Oh, I'm watching Animal Well. Don't look at that. We alt tag to here, and it's our turn. So we could pass. You can always pass, which we'll get into for passing. But we could play, our 3 8s, which would be stronger. We could play a pair of 5s or higher, essentially stronger. But again, when you play, you can use the hidden hand and any offers. So there's these 2 2s out here. Why don't we do that? Why don't we take this 2 over here? It's kind of like this week 2. And we take that offer and this offer. What's wild is we're helping them get rid of cards, right? But also it lets us be winning this trick, and maybe we can win and then be able to lead the next, right? So we're kind of setting ourselves up for the future round. And so now we're going to get to passing. So the Tyler player here, they're actually going to have to pass. So how you pass is you will draw 1 card, and that can be from anywhere. So they could draw this 4 from us if they want to, or it could be from the draw deck. They're going to just draw from the draw deck, and when you draw, you can put it anywhere in your hand. And then after you draw it, you're going to take a card out of your hand and put it on the offer. So they actually are going to offer this 4. Incognito tab, let's go over to them. They choose to pass, but they want
to maybe take a 4, because the 4 is going to help them set them up to have a huge run here, right? And maybe they think we're winning, the Robot Rick player, so they're going to take from Tyler here. And when you take, again, you can put them anywhere you want. And again, when you follow and you're going to pass, you draw and then you offer one card, right? So maybe they'll offer this weak one that they just don't like at the end of the turn. So if everyone passes and gets back, it's going to clear the trick. Trigger runner clears the trick. Boop. So clear that. Let's go back to Robot Rick. Sorry about that again. And then they're going to lead. So again, you play any size combo only from your hidden hand. So we couldn't play like a pair of ones and use incognito here because that would be playing it off of their hand. So let's just actually play that one here. We're going to move on. So then Tyler is going to play a 5-5. We're going to go to our incognito tab. So we mentioned this earlier, but you can play size +1 of any type. So you can actually change the meld type. So right now it's sets. And so maybe if incognito really wanted to, they could play a 1-2-3, right? Because it's one more size than the run. Maybe they don't want to because they're kind of thinking this is really strong and it goes, all the way up to 6. But also they have these 6 here, so maybe they just do that. So they're going to pass. So when it comes to us, ooh, no, not the editor. When it comes to us and it comes here, we let's say we play our 3/8, boom, and this is getting good. And then it's going to go to Tyler here. They are going to pass. They're going to draw the 4 from us and put the 5 here and pass. So now this pays off for incognito because remember they were holding this long straight, so they can play one more. They're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4 because it's one more. Now they have played kind of a giant bomb, right? And so maybe when it comes to us, we pass, and this flow is just going to continue, right? It's going to go and go and go until one player is out of both cards in their offer and from their hand. As you can tell here, the total cards is going to show both because if we go back to incognito hand here, it says total 4. That's because they have 1 in the offer and then 3 in their hand. So again, you have to make this total cards hit 0. When that happens, as you can see over here, round end, you're going to score trash. The theme is you are offering things in kind of a garage sale, and you don't want to hold on to things because it is trash. You're trying to get rid of trash, spring clean your house. So as you can see up here, you're going to score trash immediately once one player has 0 cards. So let's say that happened. Let's say incognito just played, the rest of their hand somehow. They have 0. So you're going to look at the total cards you have, and you are going to see over here the least total remaining cards to most gains 0, 1, 2, 3 trash. So we're going to dole it out, and 0 goes to the person who shed out, and then 5 cards over here, so they are going to get only 1, and then 2 is going to go to the person who got the next most amount of cards, right? And then you're going to shuffle into a new round. As you can see, we just do that. And then you're going to keep playing until the game ends, depending on the player count. And so at 3 players where we're at now, it's going to go until anyone has 4 trash. One thing I should say, if you are doing a 2-player with that neutral offer, every time you click the trick winner, this will clean. So you'll always have some clean offer cards over here so that doesn't ever get stale. And that's how to play spring cleaning.
So that is the Icarus Club and 7 Prophecies and spring cleaning. And before I go into final thoughts, again, huge grain of salt. Daniel sent me these games, and Daniel and Jonathan are pals. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. And also, I haven't had too much time to spend with some of these games in varying degrees. So some of these might just be initial thoughts. So keep everything I say with a double grain of salt because of that as well. In fact, let's start with the one that I haven't played too much, 7 Prophecies. So I love the premise. So there's this interesting thing right now at trick-taking games where mixing around how you bid is being played with a lot, and I love that. In some games, you bid at the start, right? How many tricks you think you're going to win, or what color trick you think you're going to win, or things like that. Or you can bid as you go, Nikos dice, and that kind of flexible bid the interesting thing in here is you're kind of bidding on how many times your card is going to be a certain rank, but it has that feeling of kind of bid as you go, which is fun. And you're like, I think this might happen. You can be vague, but also technically you have to be specific, especially because there's a race, right? The hand could end early, and you want it to end early, so you can get a lot of points at that 7th trick when you place your 7th cube. So some fascinating kind of... The game is a lot about granularity. It's like granularity on different scales. It's like, how often are you going to get first, second, and third? But then also, when are you going to do it? Especially because the first 7 tricks are actually more important than the last 3. So some really interesting things going on here. I thought it was fun, the play of it. There's some... And I should say, actually, I should have said this at the start. I'll probably put a note in the editing. Editing Taylor can take advantage of that. But the graphic design currently on the cards was a little tough. I know Daniel knows this. I forgot what the new ones look like, but Daniel is going to update that. That got a little bit in the way of some of the game. But those aside, I think the game works well. There's a little bit of that feeling of you're a little at the whims of what other people do a lot. Not a bad thing, but I think that's something to be aware of in this game where, you know, your second, since it is that line that you're riding so much, what's second versus third, you're on kind of that razor's edge that often isn't up to you. The hammer seat is, you know, the most important. The nice thing is, you know, when you lead after the hammer, you then have the least amount of control. So it does have that ebb and flow, but you just have to know that, like, when you're leading, you have the least amount of control, and kind of everything's in the hands of other people, which is fine. That's kind of the vibe of the game, and I think you actually do feel crafty when you are able to finesse a system like that, to bend it at your will. And I think the game does afford you the leniency of, like, hey, the card that you thought you were going to get third on was actually second, but maybe you overbid on second, so you're fine. And again, you're only bidding with 7 cubes, so maybe everyone's in the same boat, and they might all miss a trick or two, and, you know, you can still make it on the 9th or the 10th trick. So the game has a nice mix of grayness and some fuzziness in the right places, but just be aware that you're kind of bidding strictly in a fuzzy system, so that might rub people the wrong way. But some interesting ideas here. I do definitely want to play this more, but again, haven't played this too much, so that is 7 Prophecies. Icarus Club. I played this more. I played it more when it was backhander. I really liked it then. I personally love the idea of like a one-hand game, so it's really fun because you can get like a lot of plays of it. This is now not a one-hand game, and that's one thing I wanted to talk about, which I think is really interesting. But to the gameplay itself, not the one-handedness or the scoringness of it yet. The gameplay itself is cool. I love a good Schadenfreude mechanism, right? Because it's inherently cool in a trick-taking game where you don't want the most tricks. It's a nice way to pull people back. And there's a nice balancing to the game, especially because the later tricks are worth more because people are overriding more and more, which is nice. The fact that people want second most, in a way, is a nice self-balancing to where the top 2 players are usually kind of pulling back to allow for that 3rd player or 4th player to kind of get a trick in. There's some fun overriding you can do as well, especially like both ways. You can make the later suits ones you don't have, which is nice. Some control, especially in mid-game. There's a kind of a fun flow to where at the start of the hand, players are, you know, they're getting their tricks. But the people who are finally getting tricks in the middle, like the 3rd and the 4th, are now the ones who might be controlling the roller coaster near the end. So it's a nice thing where it's like picking your battles. But everyone's trying to pick their battle at the perfect time, and the perfect time is only so much in the middle there, because at the end, I've seen a lot of just people taking and taking and taking. So there's a lot of good tension to this one. I like this one. I just love the idea that you can override the lane. This one's like, the lane is what it is, and you gotta bid and you gotta work with it. This one's like, no, I'll do what I want, and I'll tell you what the lane is, which is nice. And there's also this one moment where, like, the house just takes it, you know? The house wins the whole trick and no one wins the trick. So that's always fun. But, so to the scoring, I've played less of the scoring than the original. So I'm trying to make sure I'm not, you know, biased one way or the other. I think making it to where the whole game you want the second is an interesting twist. There's, I think, an underutilized aspect of trick-taking games that you see in Spades or something, where the whole game matters, like hand to hand. There's something that's carrying over from hand to hand. Like in spades, it's bags, right? In this one, it's, you know, the whole game winner, where the total number at the amount is the amount you earned for the entire run of the casino. However, the player with the highest score, the one who made the most, will be stripped of their winnings and ejected from the casino, making it so the second highest score wins. It's a fun little flavor going on there. I think it's cool to have a meta thing like that. I think the only tough thing, and this happens in Schadenfreude, because there's so many comparisons to Schadenfreude in this game. But in Schadenfreude, sometimes the first hand just feels like setup, if that makes sense. You can definitely lose in the first hand. I have definitely lost in the first hand. But sometimes in Schadenfreude, you're like, okay, we're playing the first hand, and it's all about, you know, getting someone over 40 and then being the second most when we're there. But it kind of ends when everyone has like 20 and 15 and like 9 and you're like, okay, like the second hand's like, now the game's gonna start. Because now you're the leader and we want to push you over, and now you're the loser, so we can kind of give more tricks to them, maybe-ish. But now I'm in the middle, so I kind of know where I'm at. And so it's almost like in Schadenfreude, the first hand is the least interesting, which is tough in a trick-taking game to be like, hey, the first hand, it's not going to be the most interesting. And so what Backhander did was it got around it where it's just one hand, you know, whatever. But in this one now, it feels a little similar to that, where the first hand's like a little less interesting. Sure, you can get the most and get 0, and that stinks. But I don't know if it really does stink if you're going to play hands per player. So like you can just be the one to get second next time. I mean, the incentives are still there. You still want to not get first, because you're always just going to be getting 0. But it does seem, it's kind of funny. Because like in the original Backhander, you play your hand, and you would want second place. And that was how you won. This one, if you get second place every time, you're actually going to lose. And if you get a mix of second place and first place, you might win. If you get first place every time, you're definitely going to lose. So it's a weird thing of like you want second and third now. So it's interesting. It's just like it's different incentives, which is fine, which is cool. It does just feel, sadly to me, this is a personal thing, where the first hand now is a little like, okay, you know, a little less interesting. But it's cool to have like a meta thing carrying over. So I'm kind of two minds. I want to play it more. Definitely. And I personally I think this might be my favorite graphic design from New Mill. I love like the aesthetic of the casino stuff and the suits themselves. They all look super slick in this one. And finally, spring cleaning. Spring cleaning. So, some fun trivia facts. The designer of spring cleaning, John from John Gates Games. John and I worked on Of What's Left, on Owl. It's over there. And he was so amazing to work with. He helped with the variant, the threshold variant, and he also came up with some nice pushings toward cleaning up the scoring system and some other various things that, as you would know, an amazing developer who he is would do. And one of his recommendations, which was so cool, he said he was on like a long drive, and he came up with this idea of how in Of What's Left you can pass. And in fact, once you get to the bottom, and you can still pass, but you can't pass if you had a card you could play. It's hard to describe a game when I don't want to describe it too much, because this isn't about Of What's Left. But in that game, you essentially declaring to everyone at the table, hey, I passed. And so he was saying, like, what if you just always pass, you discard a card face up, and that becomes like an elegant way to slowly whittle someone's hand down and make them shut out first. It's a really, really, really rad idea. And we're talking about it, and I was like, oh, this is such a cool idea. I want to make it work. But I don't think it worked with Owl specifically, the whole system of Owl. But so I was like, go look, like, this is such a rad system. You should keep working with it. And he's like, yeah. And so that's what became spring cleaning, which is so awesome. So spring cleaning is that idea of, hey, when I pass, I'm going to show a card. And then it became more of, that's still a part of your hand, but people can take it, and some interesting, cool things. Because I think, I mean, Jonathan, as you do, an amazing designer and developer brain that he has, is like, oh, okay, let me take that concept, let me work it into its own game and like work interesting mechanics around it. So I think spring cleaning It's just so great. It's been so fun to watch it grow. I've not too many games, but I think I personally love seeing like seed to final product. And it's so awesome how much this final product came into fruition, especially from the art, which is so sweet. I believe it's him and his partner's dog. So that's so sweet. But to the gameplay, I love that idea of like a shared incentive in a climbing shedding game. So you are showing cards to other people and giving them the option of helping you shed out, but it also helps them shed out. It's a really, really cool system. And then mixed with, the classic, like, classic now, but like you can't rearrange your hand, which is nice. That's always a fun puzzle to work around with. And then also the whole drawing back up. There's some really, really clever things going on in this really tight system that John's come up with that leads to just a really, really fun game. It's always a delight to play. I've noticed like all player counts, it works great. So it is the one that I've played the most, but I think this is maybe my favorite of the 3 we've covered today, just because I love the system that came out of it all. And it's just a wonderful story. So I don't know, I have a soft spot. But so grain of salt, watch out. So yes, that is spring cleaning. I do think it has a wonderful flow to it, especially when there's more and more cards out. There's a lot of people showing a lot of cards. There's just like, okay, there's so many possibilities here. Someone could definitely just like go out, or like take so many cards and really make like a monster set, which is so cool. So I love the kind of that tension of it too. But yeah, so that's spring cleaning and the Icarus Club and 7 Prophecies. Definitely want to play these more. These are definitely just initial thoughts. So take everything I say with a million. There's just so much grains of salt. This is like a salt shaker worth of salt at this point. So take it with an entire Morton can, jar, box. But the links are in the description if you were curious. Thanks so much for watching. And I cannot stress, if you haven't watched the Dice Art video, go watch it. It's just, it blows me away. They are just the best. Thanks so much. Welcome back to normal videos, as normal as this channel can be. And cheers. Have a good night, or have a good day, or whenever you watch this. Okay, bye.